Hi everybody, it's David Fleming here from the Toronto Realty Group, and welcome back to this week's Pick 5. Now, if you were with us last week, I took a look at Sunnylee and I asked a question, is this a lesser Kingsway? Now, I'm being facetious or I'm being direct. I guess the folks in Sunnylee would probably say, no, of course it's not, but well, let's be realistic. The home prices are more expensive in the Kingsway. It seems to be more of a popular area, but I think comparing and contrasting the two areas and offering some insight and putting a spotlight on Sunnylee was very helpful for those that are looking in the West End. This week, I wanted to kind of compare and contrast two more areas. In this case, I want to focus on Davisville Village. And I would say, is this a lesser Leaside? Now again, I'm not doing that to be inflammatory, but rather to get you thinking. When you look at Leaside and Davisville Village, it's basically, if you will, Bayview Avenue. On one side, the east side, you have Leaside. On the other side, the west side, you have Davisville Village, right? They're cousins. Or when I was growing up, it was like those kids on your hockey team that don't go to your school. Where do they live? It's funny how things have changed. Like, we didn't have social media and, couldn't text kids back then. You would just see them whenever you saw them. But yes, they grew up on streets like Cleveland and Balliol, which I had never heard of because I was in Leaside. So the question is this: is it an alternative or is it a step down? You and only you can decide. Now, on the pro side, it is closer to Yonge Street. Obviously, it's further west. It's better for transit and walkability. The biggest difference, I would say, from my perspective as a real estate agent, it's not as homogenous. The streetscapes are a little bit different. Leaside was built entirely as a subdivision in the 1940s and 50s. And then you've got Davisville Village, where you might have some semi-detached, some bungalows, then a fourplex, right? It's interesting when you drive along a street like Balliol, for example, you might have a beautiful detached and then an apartment building next door. You don't get that in Leaside. So what are housing styles like? What are prices like? Let's take a look. So first I'll go to the map and say, here's what Google Maps is telling us Davisville Village is. Yes, it is, but for our intents and purposes, I'm only going to look from Mount Pleasant to Merton to Bayview to Eglinton. And for reference, this is what I meant when I said you take Leaside and you flip it. Now, obviously, you have North Leaside up here, but Bayview Avenue from Eglinton down to Merton Street, this here, we flip it, and we're into this little box here. So we're going to start with what I think is one of the best deals on the market right now, not just in Davisville, not just in the Central Core, but in the entire city. It's 682 Hillsdale Avenue East. Now, where is 682 Hillsdale? It's on a very beautiful, very popular street. Sudan's a little bit busier. It's got speed bumps. Manor Road, Hillsdale, two of my favorites, and then into Belsize, right? Millwood's a great street as well, but it's got some traffic. Davisville, we know, has a ton of traffic. Hillsdale, this section, you are what? One block from prime Bayview. There's a new No Frills in here that I was in on the weekend with my children, and they were very excited because I took the cart outside of the store. I guess they think you're not supposed to do that, but the wheels didn't lock. So yeah, it's nice to have a No Frills in Leaside, absolutely. And then you've got your Maker Pizza over here. I get my haircut over here. Yeah, David, okay, we know. So I love the location. And then the property itself, it's a semi-detached, 3-bed, 2-bath. A 3-bed, 2-bath semi, just on average, I gotta think is 1.5. Now, it's not to say this is a below average house, but this is why I'm so curious as to why it's not selling and the value proposition here, because it seems to check a lot of the boxes. Now, you might see semis, some areas of the city of Toronto that are on 13, 14-foot lots. A typical semi in this area is on a 25 by 125. This is a 27.58 by 126. So the land is a little bit bigger. We'll take a look at the photos here. You can see there is a detached garage. This is what looks like a wide mutual to me. So typical brick semi, right? Maybe you don't love the green, that's fine, you can paint that out. But what's the layout like on the inside, and then what's the condition? So you can tell that, yes, it's got the stucco ceiling here, it's got the radiators here, but this is not a beaten down house at all. In fact, this is way, way better than what I was expecting. I'm actually kind of surprised by this. You've got your open concept kitchen over here, and because the footprint of this, as I said, is 27.5 feet wide, yeah, the kitchen's not updated, but this is a pretty big house. It's deep, it's wide, and then it's got a little extension, or I wouldn't say extension, but let's keep going here. You might already know where I'm going with this. Yes, it needs a new kitchen, but right off to the side here. And so that, to me, gives you that option of not having to have, right here you've got your back room. You don't have your TV in the front in the formal living room. If you wanted, you could have it back here. So maybe this was a sunroom edition, I'm not sure. This might have been the old window going to outside, and this might have been the old sliding door, and then they extended it this way. But certainly this is bigger than most semis in the area. And for $1,399, I still can't understand why this thing is so well priced. So have a look upstairs. Nice staging job on this one, right? It looks like they redid the flooring. They've got their old rads, sure. It's not bad at all. Don't judge a house just because it has rads. I feel like there's a generation of young people who grew up in subdivisions, right? So they grew up in Richmond Hill or Thornhill or anywhere in the 905. They'd never seen radiators in their life. Then they come into a house like this and they absolutely don't know what to make of it. So downstairs you can see we've got broadlooms. See this step down? That's going to tell me that perhaps the ceiling height in the basement is a little bit better than we might expect in an older home. This rad here, this looks like they've benched. See this? So when you're underpinning, it's a little cheaper to do what's called benching, which means that you can protrude out from the wall. I don't do it, so I don't know the why or the math involved in it, but it is a little bit cheaper to bench as opposed to underpin. But this is a really good basement. I wonder if my mom would like this house. Mom, if you're watching. No, because you know what? She'll call me right away. Ah, David, I was just watching your 5 properties. And I can't believe it. Yeah, okay, so there's the extension off of there. I can see my kids playing out here. I might have to consider this for Mom. Oh no. You know those friends of yours, they don't say my mom, they just say mom. They're like, Mom said the funniest thing the other day. Yes, I might have to consider this for Mom. So it's got parking, it's got a garage. I don't know what not to like about it. $1,399, it seems like a pretty darn good deal. So keeping that in mind, let's take a look at 55 Banff. So this is $1,499. It's been on the market for 12 days. Guys, this thing was bought for $155 in 2022. So let's take a look at the listing history. As I mentioned here, 1,699 list sold for $1,550,000 in 2022. They renovated it. They're $1,799, $1,695, $1,690, $1,690, and now at $1,499. So the house sold for 50 grand more 3 years ago. They've renovated, but still 12 days on the market unsold. Let's look at the why perhaps. It is detached. It is a bungalow, 26 by 150. That's a great piece of land. 2 beds, 1 bath, 2 beds, 1 bedroom in the basement, 2 bathrooms. And then it says here basement partially finished. So renovated bungalow, there's definitely a market for it. And that to me is the downsizer, maybe the first time buyer, but you outgrow it pretty quickly as a first time buyer. And here you can see the McMansion built next door and built next door. But for the person that's looking to buy this and tear down and build, well, you don't want a renovated bungalow. You want a piece of garbage bungalow. And this one is better than that. It's a nice compliment. It is not a piece of garbage. Now, it is not staged on the inside. And you might say, well, it's not very well renovated. Okay, they've done a few things. And, you know, put in some new light fixtures, put in some new kitchen appliances. There, you can see. So it's a basic reno. It's a cosmetic reno. But I would say that based on the trajectory of the market, it's probably still not going to fetch $1,499 because they paid $155 in 2022, which was market piece. And the average home price in this area, I would think it's down 15% since then. So let's get down into the basement because these photos are boring the you-know-what out of me. There's a dad in me when you spell out words. Okay, so here's the basement. Here's where it starts to get a little hodgepodgey. Yeah, they could have painted this and they could have got rid of the drop ceiling. You've got a piece of, well, paneling popping off the wall. And then for some reason they put in a new herringbone laminate floor, right? So, oh, wait, hold on a second. That's awkward. Imagine doing laundry with your spouse and one of them's like, hold that thought, I just have to use the toilet. There is a toilet in the middle of the laundry and furnace room. Not at all uncommon. Uncommon to use it though. That would be weird. Yeah, no, for sure. And we've got a nice selection of fabrics on the wall. I don't actually know what that is. Very nice. Okay, so let's get out of this one because it's starting to weird me out. There's the backyard. It's not huge. Well, that's a bigger portion, right? Got our little garage, and you can see built up, built up, built up. So I think there's a buyer for that to build. The problem here, guys, is location. So Eglinton Avenue, you've heard of it. It's pretty busy. Apparently there's a subway that's going to at one point run underneath it, but we're not 100% on that. It's fine. It's only 5 years overdue, and it's only going to cost 6 times what they said it would. So Cleveland, Banff, Foreman, as you can see, from Sudan to Eglinton, you have all these one-block streets that you would think that means that they're quiet, but everyone cuts through to get to Eglinton and back and forth. I mean, I know that I do, and I usually take Cleveland. These are busy streets, and this is as close to Eglinton as you get. So if you were to look at, let's say, this location here on Banff versus, oh, I don't know, down here on Belsize, it is a massive, massive difference in desirability, which of course means a massive difference in price, and which means that if you were going to build your dream home, or if you were speculating and wanted to build, you might not do it on Banff. So we had one $399 for a semi, we had one $499 for a detached but bungalow. Now, oh my God, this sold. Huh, that's weird. This literally was posted in the last hour. Okay. Well, now we don't have to guess what it's going to sell for. Okay, so I was going to say, now let's go and let's look at a detached that's got some more life in it. So it's funny because what I was going to say about this at 2225 was that it was a great price. Now you can see we sold for 2.1. This was a fantastic opportunity in my opinion because it's hitting that middle ground of which there really isn't any. Your typical new build on a 30 by 120 is 3 million. Well, actually no, the new build's 4. But your 15-year-old custom home from a developer that's not going to list for 8 months and reduce 7 times is around 3 million bucks. Your completely maxed out semi, gorgeous semi is 175 to 1.8. Then you get into like the 3-bed, 2-bath detached. Okay, I'm not interested because the semi is 175. So what am I going to pay 2 million for yours? In between, I want detached. I need more bathrooms. I need a master ensuite. I need future proof. I need a powder room on the main floor. I don't want to share a bathroom with my kids. Can I get a 3-bed, 4-bath? Because I can't afford a 4-bedroom. Bingo. That's exactly what this is. 103 Cleveland. So this is a 25.8 by 117.86. It's 3-story, which is very rare. 3 beds plus 1 4-bath. And let's look at the map because I mentioned Cleveland. Cleveland up here where we saw Banff. Okay, don't love that near Eglinton. Cleveland down here near Davisville, right next to Morse Cody School, which is of course why you're moving to this area to begin with. And then right off of Millwood, which, you know, prime, let's say, from Sudan to Millwood is kind of the prime stretch of Bayview Avenue where all your shops and restaurants and such is. That is where you'd want to be. So, wow, this thing sold. This was a really good house and a really good deal. Let's take a look nonetheless. So as you can see, right, looks like originally we maybe had a bungalow here and this was built up. And you've got the mutual driveway. On the inside, very nicely done, lots of levels. I think I did that Seinfeld reference last week, right? So not the most traditional layout, but also not cookie cutter. It's unique, right? You can see here, you've got a vaulted ceiling on your family room that is off of your kitchen with extra light coming through the, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the kitchen itself, with extra light coming through the skylights. You've got a built-in fireplace, which tells me about the age of this build. No one would probably do a real fireplace today. I love real fireplaces, just saying. Really nice backyard, looks like some treed pines. Botanist I am. I don't know, guess I know what a pine is. Okay, and you can tell here by these spindles in this archway, yeah, this is not a 2025 house. Not to say that I don't like it. A lot of 2025 houses are just too gaudy to me. So I love that. Love the principal rooms in this. $2.1 million. This was an absolute deal. To get into this area, my goodness. And there you start to see, yeah, this looks kind of 90s, 2000s, but you've got your skylights. You can redo this. You can redo tile. You can redo laminate. It's fine. Big bathrooms. And there's your 3rd story. So again, what are you doing up here? I don't know. It's probably a little bit hotter than the rest of the house with your A-frame. Seems like a kid's playroom. What else is up here? Okay, there's your basement with your in-law suite. Maybe you don't want that. It's easy enough. You could rip this out. What's the line from Seinfeld? Well, we couldn't, but 2 men could. Could you guys do that? No, we couldn't. 2 men could. Referenced by Jerry and George, of course. That's what I always say to my wife and with my friends. Although Chris always says, what are you talking about? I could do that. So yeah, if you wanted to, you could rip out that basement apartment. It's not major work. And then the backyard, right? As I said. Oh, did I get the trees wrong? Or maybe I got the season wrong. Okay, so there you go. That I really liked. That was the extension I was talking about with that A-frame, with that high ceiling that lets in a ton of natural light. Some would say I wish they'd extended all the way out here. Well, then it would cost more money, obviously. So that, the missing middle, let's say, you don't get a lot of 3-bed, 4-bath in the area. So now let's go up a little bit in price point. We're gonna look at another, what I would call unique one, because this is not a new build, but it's satisfying that box for the 4-bed, 4-bath, of which I think is, let's go to the map here first, for what I think is that next level up, but maybe if you can't afford to be over $3 million. So it's on Balliol. Now I mentioned, I'm gonna drop the little man here, I mentioned how the streets here are not nearly as homogeneous as Leaside. What's interesting about this house in particular, and you can see here as a classic example of probably a 70s or 80s infill. Maybe you tore down one big house, you did the below grade driveway, which you couldn't do today. Here's our subject property at 645 Balliol, and then next to it is exactly what I was talking about. Here's a 4-plex, and here's what looks like a 12-plex. So you wouldn't see that in Leaside. Leaside's a much more homogeneous look and feel, but the house itself, guys, and we'll go to it now that it's probably finished loading. Yeah, there you go. 3-story, 4-bed, +1, 4-bath, listed for $2,725, and it's on a 175-foot deep lot. That's what I love about Balliol. All of Balliol, at least on that side of the street, is 175 feet. This is a really big house. Now, this might feel a little bit narrow, but again, consider the size of that lot being as deep as it is. You can go a lot further back, and maybe you're giving up a little bit in terms of just that front room because you don't want to walk right in. You need a little bit of a foyer. But you can see here, well-apportioned main floor. You're going to hit your living, your dining, your family, and I believe they've got a sunken family room back here. Perhaps don't quote me on it because I've looked at a lot of houses. Ah, yes. It's not sunken, but it is very nice, very quaint. So maybe it's an addition, and this was the original end of the house, right? And you could see there being a door out from the kitchen and then a door out from the living or something. But this is a really great family room. And so it's unique. Just like the last house that we saw, which was unique in terms of, let's say, well, it was unique in terms of the layout and the design, but also that 3-bed, 4-bath and that price point. The other thing I'll say about Leaside is there are no 3-story houses in Leaside. Everything is 2-story. So if you said, well, I want to be in Leaside and I need that extra story, or I want more space, well, if you don't have the lot size, you can't build up because there just aren't any. And I'm sure there's one. I believe my math teacher in high school, they had a 3-story house. So it certainly gives you options, and that's why it's not a huge house from the street, or at least it doesn't look that way, but you're vertical here. You're vertical living with these 3 stories. So 4 beds, as mentioned, 4 baths, nice basement. This does not look like a top-up of an 80s house. And then let's get outside. So there's your basement. One more. Then you get outside and you can really appreciate that 175-foot deep lot. It's nicely treated. It goes all the way back, 2 tiers of deck, patio, and all the way back. This is huge. But you can see, look how much higher this one is. So you draw the roof line across, not even close. And that's because that's a new build, and this is maybe, as I said, a top-up or an addition or something like that. And this looks like in the garage, maybe we've got a music studio out here or something. Oh boy. Looks like the teenagers are up to no good. Sound like every dad. Okay, so the last one I want to show you here, guys. This is what I always do in Pick 5. Start with sort of the entry level, which we saw 1,399, and then go to beyond, right? This is beyond. This is 40 Hoyle. This is beyond. 4 million. There's not a lot of $4 million houses in Davisville Village, and that's what I mean by beyond. Now listen, absolutely gorgeous house, don't get me wrong, but it's beyond what you would consider the high end of Davisville because they're just, like high end of Davisville, 3.5, right? Now you're into 4 mil. Now, do we want to look at photos first, or do we want to talk about price? Okay, so let's talk about price. So it was bought for $2,975 in 2019. Now, they've come down from $435, but even at 4 million, you've got to say, okay, where they listed at 435, 2,975, it's a 46% increase. Has the market gone up 46% since 2019? Well, no, it hasn't. 416 Detached is up 33.8. HPI is up 24. GTA is up 36.6. You can make numbers say anything you want. Suffice it to say, I think it's an unbelievable house. The question is, can the area support it? And when we look at a house like this that is beyond sort of that higher level, well, that's where we're gonna look at the photos and see just how pretty this house is. So you can see the one next door. That looks like the house we sold at 242 Sutherland. It looks identical, my goodness. Okay, so inside, beautiful. Super modern and a very, very different style. But for this kind of price point, I think the buyer is looking for something different. They're not looking for, and I don't want to say traditional is boring because I'm a traditionalist, but I think they're looking for something that not everybody has, and specifically at this price point. So say what you want about 4.35, and we have to remember, if we're looking at 4.35 in Davisville, well, we have to say, well, what does 4.35 get us in other areas? And I mentioned that one we had at 242 Sutherland, that sold for 4.2. It was a wider lot and a deeper lot. I think it was a better house, right? So, okay, they've adjusted. They're now 3,999. So it's absolutely beautiful. I like the layout. I like the finishes. It's got a nice big backyard. Whether or not a pool is your thing remains to be seen. Do they have, oh, hello. Do they have a wine cellar? That's kind of neat. That's kind of like camouflage. I like that. Like if a G.I. Joe wanted to like sit in a chair and just blend in. Okay, there we go. That's nice. Very cool. Although I think I might, I don't know. I don't know about the doors. Okay, but you got to have them see through or you're going to lose your mind trying to figure out what's in what cupboard. got our plant, we got our skylight, we got our photo. Okay, there's just so many photos. Excuse me, guys. I'm gonna quick click pretty quickly. That's kind of nondescript in there. Now we got a kid's bedroom. So once upon a time, you only got 20 photos on MLS. Then they increased it to 40, and now it's 50. So it makes pick 5 sometimes a little much. So unique feature. We saw this in a property last week I was looking at, I think on Spring Garden. Massive window in a basement you don't really expect. Lets a ton of natural light in. This is something you're not getting in a traditional new build. I mean, the house is full of things you're not getting in a traditional new build. Look at the ceiling height over here. That's huge. Wow. And then there's your pool, your backyard. So they put a ton of money into that. That's probably why they're at the price they are. But in a market like this, I mean, again, I go back to 242 Sutherland, we actually had 2 offers in the first 2 days and sold it for overlist. Not saying that to be cocky or anything, just saying you just never know. So, you know, these guys came out higher, they've reduced, and ultimately this may not be for everybody. Maybe for a lot of people, the folks that need a pool, but the folks that do not want a pool are likely not buying this property. So it is unique and it necessitates a very, very particular buyer. And so I think listing a little bit higher where they were and coming down, that probably worked in terms of a strategy. So that is it. That's where we part ways. We started at 1399, Hillsdale, a semi. We went to 1499 on Banff. Then we saw that in-betweener. 2.22 was listed for, and it sold for 2.1 million, a 3-bed, 4-bath. That's what I call the unicorn. Then we moved up to what is a pretty unique 4-bed, 4-bath at 2.7 million, and it's not the newer build, it's not the 30 by 120 we might expect to see in Leaside. It was a very unique property on a wicked 175-foot lot. And then we saw, I would say new build, I don't know, this is probably what, less than 10 years old. We saw a new build from the ground up, 30 by 150, high ceilings, dugout basement, walkout from there, super, super renovated, ton of money poured into landscaping at $4 million, which is a price point we just don't see in Davisville Village. But as was the case with last week, when I did Sunnylee, and I think we looked at properties that were from 1.5 all the way up to 4 million. Well, this is 1399 all the way up to 4 million. It's what I love about neighborhoods in Toronto, where you see a really big mix in price and in product. So there you go. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this look at Davisville Village, and no, it is not the lesser Leaside. There are folks that live in Davisville Village that absolutely swear by it, but I think the comparison is quite apt considering they were on both sides, east and west of Bayview Avenue. So guys, thanks for watching. As always, if you'd like to be emailed in advance of Pick 5, go to TorontoRealtyBlog.com and click on Pick 5, sign up, and you'll automatically be emailed every week when we launch a new episode, which is usually Thursday and Friday. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.